Breaking news at 11. Millions and millions of dollars in cash missing. The LAPD and FBI now investigating a huge SoCal heist that happened over the Easter weekend.
Now to Los Angeles, where tonight they are investigating one of the biggest cash heists in LA history. Up to $30 million in cash stolen on Easter.
We have breaking news involving one of the largest cash heists in U.S. history. $30 million stolen.
It's being called one of the biggest heists in LA history.
It was Easter Sunday, March 31st, 2024, in Sylmar, a quiet neighborhood in Los Angeles. Families were enjoying the holiday. The streets were calm and everything seemed normal. However, something mysterious was happening inside a highly secured cash storage facility. As the sun rose, a group of thieves worked carefully and quietly to execute a crime that would shock the city. This was no ordinary theft. It was one of the largest cash heists in Los Angeles history. They didn't use loud explosions or dramatic chases. Instead, they used intelligence, skill, and detailed planning to steal nearly $30 million in cash from the GardaWorld facility. The thieves entered the building, avoided alarms, and broke into a vault designed to protect millions of dollars. This was a professional operation, and the precision of their work left investigators stunned. How did they do it? Who were they? And what happened to the money? These are the questions we will explore in this documentary about a crime that redefined the limits of what thieves could accomplish. The GardaWorld facility in Sylmar, Los Angeles, was no ordinary building. It was a cash storage and processing center, serving banks, businesses, and institutions across the region. Inside, millions of dollars were stored in a high-security vault. The money would be transported daily to ATMs, stores, and other destinations. This facility was supposed to be one of the safest places for cash. It had security cameras, alarms, and reinforced walls. The vault was built to withstand attempts to break into it. For years, GardaWorld had handled cash securely and efficiently. But this heist showed that even the most secure systems can fail. On Easter weekend, the unthinkable happened. While most people were celebrating or relaxing, a team of criminals found a way to bypass the facility's security. They managed to avoid detection, breach the building, and escape with the cash. The GardaWorld heist required careful planning and expert knowledge. The thieves knew exactly what they were doing. They had to learn about the building, its security systems, and the daily routines of its staff. Investigators believe the thieves studied the facility for weeks or even months before the heist. They would have needed to understand the location of the cash vault, the patrol patterns of security personnel, and how to avoid triggering alarms. There's a strong possibility that the criminals had access to inside information. It's unlikely they could have carried out such a precise operation without knowing critical details about the facility's layout and operations. This raised the question of whether an insider was involved. The tools and equipment used in the heist also suggested careful preparation. Breaking into a secured building and vault required specialized tools. This wasn't a job for amateurs. The team must have invested time and resources in acquiring the equipment they needed to execute the plan. On the night of March 31st, the thieves put their plan into action. They entered the GardaWorld facility through the roof. This was a bold move, as it required climbing and creating an entry point without alerting anyone nearby. Once inside, they moved quickly but carefully. They avoided security cameras and stayed out of sight. It's believed they used sophisticated techniques to disable alarms and bypass detection systems. The vault was the final barrier between the thieves and the cash. Opening it was no easy task. This vault was designed to resist break-ins, but the criminals managed to crack it. They likely used advanced tools, such as high-powered drills or cutting equipment, to gain access. During the break-in, a nearby resident reported hearing mechanical noises in the early morning hours. This suggested the use of heavy machinery, but it wasn't loud enough to raise alarm, a sign of the thieves' deliberate planning. They may have used sound-dampening materials or other ambient sounds mask their activities. Once the vault was breached, the thieves moved quickly to access the cash storage compartments. Inside the vault, money was stored in stacks, likely bundled and categorized for transportation. The criminals appeared to know exactly where to look, bypassing less valuable items and focusing solely on the high-denomination currency. To transport the cash, they used large duffel bags or reinforced containers, ensuring they could carry significant amounts in a single trip. They may have even employed portable trolleys or carts to speed up the process. The entire operation was executed with precision, leaving little trace of their presence aside from the damaged vault. After loading the stolen money into their vehicle, believed to be the van captured on surveillance footage, they departed the scene before anyone could detect them. The escape was as meticulous as the heist itself, leaving no immediate evidence of their direction or identities. When employees of the GardaWorld facility arrived for work on Monday, April 1st, 2024, they had no idea what they were about to find. The building appeared normal from the outside, and there were no immediate signs of a break-in. But when they entered the vault area, it was clear something was wrong. The vault had been breached, and millions of dollars in cash were missing. Panic and confusion spread among the staff as they realized how huge the theft was. Initial estimates suggested that as much as $30 million had been stolen, making this one of the largest cash heists in Los Angeles history. Employees immediately reported the theft to law enforcement, setting off a massive investigation. The Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, quickly arrived at the scene, followed by agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. Given the amount of money stolen and the complexity of the crime, this case required extensive resources and expertise. Officers secured the facility and began their investigation. Forensic teams were called in to examine the crime scene. They collected evidence including potential fingerprints, tool marks, and surveillance footage. The first challenge investigators faced was the lack of obvious clues. The thieves had been extremely careful. They avoided leaving behind clear evidence, making it difficult for law enforcement to determine how they had carried out the heist. As news of the heist spread, it captured the attention of people across Los Angeles and beyond. Media outlets reported the story widely, emphasizing the massive amount of money stolen and the boldness of the crime. The public reaction was a mix of shock, fascination, and concern. How could such a theft happen in a high-security facility? Many questioned whether GardaWorld had taken enough precautions to protect the cash. Businesses and financial institutions that relied on GardaWorld services also expressed concern. If a theft of this scale could happen once, what was to stop it from happening again? Forensic experts analyzed every inch of the building, starting with the entry point on the roof. The specific method the thieves used to access the roof of the GardaWorld facility in Sylmar remains unclear. While it's established that they breached the building through the roof, authorities have not publicly disclosed whether the intruders used a ladder, rope, or another means to reach the rooftop. The investigation is ongoing, and details about the exact entry method have not been confirmed. Once on the roof, the thieves breached the hatch with professional-grade cutting tools. This provided them with access to the inside of the building without immediately triggering external alarms. After breaking into the vault and seizing approximately $30 million in cash, the thieves prepared for their escape. Instead of using the same route they had entered, they created a large hole on the side of the building. This exit point allowed them to efficiently move the stolen cash out of the facility. The hole the thieves had created was inspected for tool marks. Investigators believe the criminals used professional-grade cutting or drilling equipment to breach the roof. The precision of the cut suggested advanced skills and experience. Inside the building, the focus shifted to the vault. The door showed signs of tampering, but the method used to open it was still unclear. It appeared that the thieves either had knowledge of the vault's locking mechanism or used highly specialized tools. Security camera footage was also reviewed. Although the thieves had avoided most cameras, investigators hoped to find clues, such as suspicious activity near the facility in the days leading up to the crime. The investigation uncovered several potential weaknesses in GardaWorld security. One critical issue was the history of false alarms at the site. Records revealed that the facility had experienced more than a dozen false alarms in the previous year. This may have led security personnel to become less responsive, assuming most alerts were errors. The Los Angeles Police Department responded to 3 separate alarms at GardaWorld's Sylmar cash storage facility on the day that thieves stole as much as $30 million from its vault during the biggest heist in the city's history. Despite the officers' presence at the property in the early hours of Easter Sunday, including around the time it is believed the sophisticated burglary was carried out, the criminals remained undetected, according to 3 law enforcement officials familiar with the investigation of the incident. During at least one of the responses by a patrol car, GardaWorld was alerted, according to the officials, but the Montreal-based security services company did not register the intrusion. This raised serious concerns about how security alerts were handled and whether proper actions were taken in response to potential threats. Investigators interviewed employees of GardaWorld, looking for any signs of unusual behavior or connections to known criminal groups. Background checks were conducted to identify anyone with potential ties to organized crime or financial troubles that could have motivated them to cooperate with the thieves. Another lead involved analyzing similar heists in the past. Authorities compared this case to other major thefts to see if there were any patterns or common suspects. As the investigation continued, law enforcement issued public appeals for information. They asked anyone who might have seen suspicious activity near the facility on Easter weekend to come forward. GardaWorld issued a public statement expressing shock and confirming their cooperation with law enforcement. GardaWorld started its own internal investigation into the incident. This included an evaluation of the facility's security protocols, employee practices, and technology systems. The goal was to identify vulnerabilities and prevent future incidents. As time passed without arrests or recovered money, frustration grew among the public and the victims of the theft. Businesses and institutions that relied on GardaWorld wanted answers and accountability. The hunt for the thieves continued, but it was clear that solving this case would require patience, creativity, and perhaps a stroke of luck. The criminals had pulled off one of the most impressive heists in modern history, and for now, they remained in the shadows.